Yeah. So we have NVA in default, VM1 in subnet 1 and VM2 in subnet 2. Now, if we just go back um, and do another RDP, let's try to do that. So let me just ping VM2 from VM1. Okay. So VM2, want to get the public IP address, which is this. So this is my VM1. And we see that there's a reply as previously, right? So even if they are in different subnets, but they are in same virtual network, we are able to get a ping reply. Okay. Okay. So now what essentially what we will do is we are trying to set up an appliance kind of a topology where we want all the traffic from VM1, which is directed to VM2, to actually be routed through the NVA. Now NVA in this case is like an appliance layer, which is basically in a machine where you would have a firewall installed, right? Or there is some kind of a security rules applied in that machine, and you want to have all the traffic routed through that. So this is a common networking requirement, and we just want to see how custom routing can help here. Now, as you know that by default, all the routing would be using the system route. There is a route table, which is system route, which all the traffic is following right now. However, we want to modify that system routing. Now, you cannot modify the system route as it is, system route table, but what you can do is we can have our own custom route table, which will actually change the behavior. Okay, so it's kind of inheriting and putting some logic on top of custom logic on top of the out of the box logic. So what we'll do right now is we'll just go and create a route table. So let's go to home and let's go to this create a resource. And in here, okay, so let us just straight away search for the route table. So we'll add a new route table. And our new route table will be called your route table 1, and the resource group in this case will be this, and the location will be East Asia. Okay, so with that we create the route table. Deployment is in progress. We'll come back once it's deployed. Okay, the route table has been created. Now we want to add some routes. We'll add just a single route in this, which will be, let's say, route from VM1 to VM2. Actually, this will be route to VM2, and hence the address prefix in this case would be in 0 to 0. The next hop type, okay, so Okay. Basically, that is the address prefix of subnet 2, if you remember, where we have the VM2. Virtual appliance is basically our next hop type. What I'm going to say is any traffic which is directed to this particular address prefix would be directed to the next hop type, which is our virtual appliance. The next hop type for any traffic directed to 10.0.20/24 is virtual appliance with the IP address as this. Okay, so if you remember, this is our default subnet IP address, which is where our virtual appliance is located. Actually, we need to give the IP address, exact IP address. So just check that out once. Go to home, NVA. This is our private IP address of our NVA. So go to this and paste this over here. Now, what you see here is ensure you have IP forwarding enabled on your virtual appliance. So right now, we want to ignore this message and we'll come back to this once we realize the need for this, okay? So we have created this route table, but now we need to apply this route table to a subnet. Okay, so what we do over here is we need to associate a subnet to it, otherwise it's of no use, right? So we'll go ahead, choose this virtual network, and for subnet, we'll give the subnet in which our VM1 is located, which is subnet 1. Because all we are interested in is the route from VM1 to VM2. And now, with this in place, let's just go ahead and try to do the same thing, ping VM2 from VM1. So looks like there is something else we need to let's just wait for some time. Okay, yeah, just let's wait for some time and see. Just pause the video for a while. Okay, so one interesting thing that was observed is that we were actually pinging the public IP address, and that won't be impacted by the route table here. So if we still do this, then it's not impacted because it's still allowed. The traffic is still allowed now. But if we do this, if we use the private IP address, which is in this case this, I was actually giving a wrong IP address, private IP address. So the private IP address of VM2 is basically this 10.0.24. So as you see here, the reply is coming. Now let's go and have a look at the network configuration. So if you go to VM1 and if you go to networking, okay, so it's subnet 1. If you go to the subnet 1, If you go to subnet 1, now subnet 1, right now there is no route table. We can associate the route table over here. Alternatively, we can go to the route table and just reassociate. Actually, I had deassociated this, so I can again go back and reassociate subnet 1. Okay. Now, okay, so it's already associated. And see, this is subnet, associated now to the route table. Now, if we go back to the subnet 1, conversely, we go to subnet 1 and refresh this. Okay. We should be able to see. Let's do this. Let's go back to this. And you see here, the route table has been associated to subnet 1. Now, if we go back and try to do the same thing with the private IP address of VM2. So basically we are pinging VM2 private IP address from VM1, which is the VM1 is in subnet 1, which is right now following the route table, which basically says that all traffic to VM2 will be directed to the next hop type of the virtual appliance, which is the default subnet in this case. Okay. And if you see here, we are now not able to get the reply from the VM2 thing with the private IP address of VM2. So basically we are pinging VM2 private IP address from VM1, which is the VM1 is in subnet 1, which is right now following the route table, which basically says that all traffic to VM2 will be directed to the next hop type of the virtual appliance, which is the default subnet in this case. Okay. And if you see here, we are now not able to get the reply from the VM2.
Okay, so that was an example of how custom routing enables us to use our own routes on top of the system route. We will look at how we can extend this and how we can enable IP forwarding so that we can achieve the V1 to V2 routing through our network virtual appliance in the next session. Thanks for watching.